A veterans charity that the Minnesota Attorney General says was improperly using donations has agreed to shut down. And the charity also owes some money as part of the deal. Danny Spiewak tells us what led up to this settlement. Hi there, Danny.
Hey, Carla. Attorney General Lori Swanson accuses this foundation of misleading thousands of donors in the state of Minnesota about a phone card program which helped military members and their families talk while they were either overseas or here at home in VA hospitals. Even though it settled the case, the foundation still says that some accusations against it are, quote, not accurate. The charity is based in Colorado, a branch of the veterans group, the Retired Enlisted Association. Swanson says they sent mailers to Minnesota like these, asking for $10 donations to fund these phone cards. And according to court documents, the foundation bought 2,000 of the cards in 2014, but distributed less than half of those over the next 3 years. Swanson says they didn't give out any phone cards to veterans or families in the year 2017. She says her office began investigating after hearing complaints from the public.
And then we started investigating. We asked the company to tell us how they're spending the money, and we found out they hadn't even bought a single phone card since 2014, even though they were raising hundreds of thousands of dollars from Minnesotans.
The foundation will also pay $425,000 to veterans groups as a part of the settlement. They say that they think that's a better solution than eating up legal fees. But in a statement, the foundation called the phone card program a good program that got a late start and became antiquated before its time. They say phone cards were purchased, waiting to be given to those who needed them. However, they just were never requested. The foundation says advances in cell phone and internet technology simply made the program obsolete. And they blame their fundraiser, the one that they hired, for pushing the phone card program so heavily. But they do have 150 days now to dissolve, according to the court order. Carla, back to you.
Danny, extremely complicated. Thank you so much for trying to clarify all of those details, and glad that the veterans are getting resolution on this as well. Thanks again.